So this might be the latest I've ever gotten an update to you guys, and it's because this news literally came out at 4 a.m. Pacific time, and that was literally the time I went to bed, like literally right before. So forgive me that I'm getting this video out so late. I usually try to break news within the first hour or two. But a huge trade just went down, a very underrated trade that I'd expect more people to be talking about, but no one really is for some reason, where the Minnesota Vikings literally just traded for Yannick Ngakoue. Now, this has a huge domino effect on multiple other players and multiple other teams, so we're gonna get to that real quick. But before we get to that, guys, make sure you smash that like button for that YouTube algorithm and turn on my notifications and subscribe, especially if you happen to be a huge fan of my content. YouTube has been demonetizing some of my more popular videos because they're a little edgy. You know, those dark stories of the NFL videos usually get me into some trouble. That's not really a big deal. I don't really care about the money aspect. I really care about the fact that once you get demonetized a couple of times, YouTube will stop showing my subscribers my videos. So the way around it is to turn on my notifications, and you'll definitely get an update every time I upload a video. On top of that, a lot of you guys have been asking me to bring back my live streaming series where I do a simulation of the entire NFL going back to 2003. We're going to be doing that on Twitch, and we're going to start that immediately after this video. The link to that is twitch.tv/FlightMike. It's a lot of fun. We're going to literally see a brand new NFL occur. A lot of crazy stuff happened in the past 20 years, and we had a lot of fun the last time we did this in Madden 20. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check, 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? We have some big news here today because the Minnesota Vikings made a very shrewd move in acquiring Yannick Ngakoue from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So for those of you guys that don't know the Yannick Ngakoue saga with Jacksonville, pretty much Ngakoue was really frustrated with the Jacksonville Jaguars for a plethora of reasons. The two biggest reasons being, one, the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't really seem that implored to pay him what he deserved, which, looking at Yannick Ngakoue's stats, the dude deserved to get paid, man. Like, if you looked at the amount of sacks he had for his career throughout his first 4 years in Jacksonville, especially in that season where the Jacksonville Jaguars went to the AFC Championship in 2017, then you would understand why this man deserves to get paid the amount he's requesting. And for some reason or another, the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't agree with him. And just for comparison's sake, I'm going to compare my man Yannick Ngakoue's stats to Jadeveon Clowney, a player that was demanding $20 million a year to play for an NFL team, who was a former #1 overall pick of the 2014 NFL Draft. In terms of pass rushing, Ngakoue is a significantly better pass rusher than Jadeveon Clowney. I don't care what you say, the stats prove it. He is clearly the better pass rusher than Clowney is. So based off of that principle, I wouldn't blame Ngakoue for wanting to get paid, but eventually this evolved into something more. Throughout the offseason, Yannick kind of understood that the Jacksonville Jaguars are a completely inept and illogical team, and you don't want to be giving your best years to a franchise that clearly doesn't have a strong culture and a strong front office. The Jaguars had a phenomenal defense in 2017, and shortly after completely botched it, literally dismantling their entire team. No, like, take a look at this. On the 2017 Jaguars, they had Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue, AJ Boye, Calais Campbell, Dante Fowler, Marcel Darius, Malik Jackson, Aaron Colvin, Tayshaun Gibson, Barry Church, and Telvin Smith. None of those players are on the Jacksonville Jaguars anymore. So the Minnesota Vikings stepped up in a big way. They actually had a huge hole to fill at the opposing edge rusher position opposite the side of Danielle Hunter. Now, before, they had a phenomenal pass rusher over there in Everson Griffin. And while Everson Griffin, in my eyes, I consider him to be a little bit better than Yannick Ngakoue, he was also 32 years old. He had a volatile mental history as well, so he was kind of a distraction off of the field. It seems like he's got everything together now. He only had 1 year where he was really bad, but all signs kind of pointed towards this being the move for the Minnesota Vikings. You see, now you get younger at the edge rusher position, bringing in a 25-year-old pass rusher that literally has 37.5 sacks to his name thus far. You put him on the other side of your other very promising pass rusher. Now look, the Minnesota Vikings clearly took a step back this past offseason. A lot of the moves they made was mainly to save themselves cap space. They let Linval Joseph, they let Everson Griffin go, they let Trey Waynes go, and of course they traded Stephon Diggs for a bunch of picks. But one of those picks ended up being Justin Jefferson, who was supposed to replace Stephon Diggs. I think all in all, although the Minnesota Vikings got marginally worse this season, they made a bunch of smart moves for themselves in the long term. And I still think that they could potentially surprise some teams and make it to the playoffs. All in all, for the Minnesota Vikings, I give them an A, because all they had to do to acquire a one-time Pro Bowler who's only 25 years old was give up a 2021 second-round draft pick and a conditional fifth-round draft pick. And the way the conditional fifth-round draft pick works is if Yannick Ngakoue goes to the Pro Bowl this season, it becomes a fourth-round pick. And if he goes to the Pro Bowl and the Vikings win a Super Bowl, it becomes a third-round pick. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to give them like a C or a D, because I think they could have done a much better job building up Yannick Ngakoue's status and building up his stock before shipping him for what they got for him. And it's kind of comical because Yannick Ngakoue wanted out of Jacksonville so badly that he literally decided to take a pay cut from $17.788 million to $13.5 million. And if that's the price he has to pay to go from in my opinion, an inept front office to a more stable organization, then I respect that. You also have to understand, like, he went from $17.78 million in a state with no state income tax to $13.5 million in a state with a near 10% income tax. So Yannick just really didn't like the Jaguars. I guess he wanted his career to mean something, or I guess he saw long term that the Jaguars could have a negative impact on his career. Now look, there's a lot of repercussions from this trade as well, more to do with just the Minnesota Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars, because now the best prospect you could get on the free agent market in order to bolster your edge rushing is Jadeveon Clowney, and he's like the only prospect left. Before I would say, hey, you have Everson Griffin that you could sign, you have Yannick Ngakoue that you could give up a second-round pick for or a third-round pick for, but now it appears as though both of those are no longer options. Everson Griffin, of course, has signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Yannick Ngakoue just got traded to the Minnesota Vikings. So your best option at this point, if you want edge rushing, is to hit up Jadeveon Clowney, who for some reason still wants $20 million a year to play, with the regular season being literally 13 days away, and try to get a hold of his agent and say, hey, listen, just tell him to come through and sign a one-year prove-it deal, show everyone what he can do, and then he can hit free agency once again. I personally don't know what to expect from Clowney. A lot of people come into my streams and ask me, where do I think Clowney's going to go? Well, that's the fun part, isn't it? You really don't know, because the contending teams aren't going to have a lot of money to pay Jadeveon Clowney, and I don't think he's trying to sign with a lesser team at this point either. So your guess is as good as mine. Let me know in the comment section down below, where do you think Jadeveon Clowney's going to go? And also, make sure to grade what the Jags get and what the Vikings get for this deal that they already made. If you guys made it to the end of this video, I'm going to be live streaming on Twitch. A link to that's in the description down below. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our microphone until our next upload.